Hey guys, welcome to the first Everything Sports 101 video podcast. My name is Aiden Ferguson and I'll be your host. On this podcast, we'll be talking about the upcoming derby matches in the English Premier League and my rankings for the Eastern Conference in the NBA. So first, let's just jump into the Arsenal versus Spurs game. Super exciting one. It's going to be at the Emirates, right? And then, so coming into the match, Arsenal are in 5th place on 27 points and Spurs are in 3rd place on 30 points. So the notable injuries of the week, we have Danny Welbeck, who we've kind of known about. He's been out for a while, so he's not going to be playing. That won't affect Arsenal too much. And Nacho Monreal, who also will not be affecting Arsenal too much since they've had Kolasinac in there for a while. So the notable injuries for Spurs are Kieran Trippier. He's a questionable, which is actually a pretty big deal for them. Of course, they have they have depth in that position with Aurier, but Trippier is definitely a big player for them, and he is someone who will affect the game massively if he plays. And then the other injuries are to Moussa Dembele and Wanyama, who are big players, as in like they hold the, I guess they help Spurs play with their flow. They're just people who can help control the ball, move it, switch the ball for Spurs, so they can be more attacking going forward and have their play be more fluid. So I said my keys for this game for Arsenal is they need a big game out of Xhaka, right? Xhaka is suspect, man. That dude, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. 1 week, he's excellent. He's superb. He could be one of the better midfielders in the Premier League just based on the fact he can defend well and that going forward he can just ping the ball across the field from one side to the other. And then other weeks you look at him and he just gives the ball away carelessly in the final third. So you just don't know what you're going to get. And in order for Arsenal to be at their top, they need everyone to be on. Torreira is always on. Ozil is, he's on most of the time, but there's times where Ozil's not quite got that focus. With Xhaka, it's 50-50. You don't know what you're going to get, and they need a big match out of him just to be able to play their style that they want, and then also defensively, they need him to make good decisions, no reckless challenges or anything like that. Defensively, what Arsenal need to do, they need to contain Harry Kane. And the best way, in my opinion, to do that, obviously, Harry Kane is super consistent. He's great scoring away, so there's not tons you can do, but the best way to contain Harry Kane is just to have him with his back to goal, right? When he's got his body towards goal, he's almost unstoppable because he can finish the ball remarkably well. The way he can whip it into the bottom corners, the kind of accuracy, the precision. And he's not super fast, but he can always get that little amount of space with his strength to get a shot off. So just making sure he plays back to goal so he has to drop it off to Eriksen or someone in the midfield. And that's the best way you can defend Kane. You don't necessarily need to be worried about the long balls over the top into him, but just be concerned about him making crafty runs in behind because he's just a really smart player. The keys to the game for Spurs would be for Eriksen and Kane to combine, right? Those two are so good when they're on, and they've done a good job this year, but I'd really like to see them step it up in this game in the North London derby, right? Because when they combine together, they're so good. Eriksen has some of the most beautiful balls in behind, right? He can loft it over the top. He can slot it through. And then Kane's runs are so intelligent. When they're both on, they're magnificent. And I really like the way Eriksen kind of roams around the field a little more, whereas Kane kind of plays in between the sticks. So, yeah. And then the final thing would be for, like, Tottenham to use their speed out wide to go after the Arsenal fullbacks, right? Obviously, Bellerin is super fast, but the thing about Bellerin is he doesn't get back very much, right? Arsenal fans have talked about Bellerin being someone who they wanted to convert to a winger. So defensively, you've got to go after him because he's going to get caught out of position, right? That's the job of Son, Lamela, the guys who are going to be playing wide. And I want to see Son versus Kolasinac. I want to see that matchup because Son is so quick. You saw his goal last week. It was beautiful. He got end line, cut inside, beat one, beat two, bang, back of the goal. You get me? That's what Son offers to the table. So I think they're going to need a big game out of him to expose them wide. The Arsenal defense is a little shaky, but it's done better than most people have expected. So we'll see how that goes. So my final prediction for the game is 2-1 to Arsenal, right? So it's at the Emirates for one. That plays a major role in it, right? And then you have the Arsenal strike force, which the Spurs defense cannot handle. Big note for Spurs, Jan Vertonghen is back playing again, so he'll be in the lineup. But still, you can't. Vertonghen and Alderweireld are not going to be able to stop Lacazette and Aubameyang, right? They're too good together. Iwobi's been in form all season. Ozil is just creative. He's kind of a genius, and he plays perfectly into the speed with Aubameyang and Lacazette. So I think for them, Arsenal, it's just going to be like, they're just going to be too overpowering going forward. You know, the atmosphere at the Emirates is eccentric, right? It's going to be crazy on match day. The Arsenal fans are awesome. Shout out to AFT TV, yeah. But Arsenal fans are just amazing, and I think that kind of atmosphere will go in Arsenal's favor. As far as Spurs, I think they will score just because Kane is so good. It'll be a counterattack. I think the game will be going both ways. Both teams will be trying to play with the ball. I think both teams will be kind of unsuccessful in that part. Like, the ball will be going back and forth a lot. They'll string 3-4 passes, lose it, go back, string 3-4 passes, lose it. I don't think either team is so good like City where they can keep it against top competition. And, yeah, I think Kane will get a goal. And then my prediction as far as Arsenal in scoring, I would say that Lacazette and Aubameyang each get a goal. And Aubameyang last week was excellent. Lacazette's been great. So I think this is a big test for Arsenal, though. If you guys have listened to my other podcasts on SoundCloud, you guys know I'm a big Arsenal supporter so far this season. I'm saying Arsenal's going to finish top 4. Arsenal's going to finish ahead of Spurs. So this is kind of a must-win for them because they're below 3 points. So winning this game would put them right next to Spurs, tied in the table with Spurs. And I think it's just a big game because it's at the Emirates. So you have to prove it now. You have to show what you're really about. And this is it for Arsenal. This is a great game for Emery. And just to note, I questioned Leno before. The past couple games, he's been excellent. So I'm really excited to see what Leno is going to do on this big stage. He's pretty young, and he's been playing great. One note, I think the thing about Spurs where they could be kind of surprising is Vertonghen is back, and although Fourth was doing an okay job there, the kind of experience and veteran leadership Vertonghen brings will be huge for them. So, and Lloris, he's good, but I think he's personally overrated. So, yeah, so I have 2-1 Arsenal, and then goals from Lacazette, Aubameyang, and then a goal from Harry Kane. So it'll be an exciting game. I'll definitely make sure to get up to watch that one. All these games are on Sunday, so this is all fresh, and you guys will be prepped and know everything you need to about the game before you watch it. So next up, we have the Merseyside derby. We've got Everton versus Liverpool at Goodison Park, right? This is going to be one of the most exciting derby games we've seen so far because as in terms of the Liverpool, the Merseyside derby, it's been a couple years since Everton has been this good. The past couple years they struggled. Last year when they brought Rooney in, it was kind of a shit show. So I think this year will be a great test for them, and I think they'll be up to the challenge. So let's just jump into it with a couple of the statistics. So Everton are coming into the match in 6th place on 22 points. And then you have Liverpool coming on second on 33 points. So there's a big point spread. But it's the fact that both are near the top of the table will make this game exciting. It'll be electric, as every Merseyside derby is. Notable injuries. So Everton actually doesn't have any notable injuries or suspensions. They have the full squad available, which will make the derby match great. And then for Liverpool, they have Henderson suspended, which is kind of a big loss, although I don't think he's necessarily one of the an amazing player. He's a good player, but he's a captain on the team, so it's gonna be difficult with him out. I think we have to also keep in mind that Liverpool just came off a tough 2-1 loss to PSG throughout the week, so we have to be kind of lenient in that aspect. They're gonna be tired. Their legs are gonna be screaming, so. The keys to the game for Everton for me are to feed off the atmosphere, right? You're at home. This is a big derby match. You're a little outmatched in terms of quality, but you have to be ready for the atmosphere and the environment. And I'm gonna have to see Everton really feed off of that. Next up, we have Gylfi Sigurdsson. We're gonna need a big game out of him if you're an Everton supporter, right? he's someone you've brought in to kind of control the midfield, control the attack, and you're going to need that kind of game from him, is just like him to put the ball down, to switch it, to get in the attack, and to score, like off whether it's a set piece or a long shot or get in behind, figure out a way to win the game. And I think he's someone who can affect the game in a good way. And then, especially with Henderson out, he should be able to help dominate the midfield for Everton. In terms of Liverpool, I think part of the key to the game are just to keep the ball moving, since there's tired legs, right? You don't necessarily have to counter as much as you normally do. While saying that, they still do have to counter. That's one of their keys to the game, is going to be getting Salah and Mane in behind. The Everton backline doesn't necessarily have the most pace, so these guys are going to have to get in behind, and that's, I think, the way they're going to score. So I'm going for kind of a risky prediction for this one. I'm going to say 1-1 draw. So although Liverpool are on paper better, I think that the Champions League match during the week actually does play a big role in this, because it's such a tiring game. It was such a hard-fought game against one of the best teams in Europe, and it was away. So they're going to be exhausted. Next up, right, Henderson, missing him it's going to be tough, because they won't have someone who they've relied on for several years in the midfield. And then also, it's at Goodison Park. So I think the odds in some ways are stacked against Liverpool a little bit. And I think they will score, probably Mane or Salah, to be honest. That one of them will score off a counter. But I think Everton will also score off a counter-attack. So I think it'll be a game where Liverpool looks more dangerous. They probably dominate the ball a little more. But at the end of the day, they come away kind of scratching their heads and feeling disappointed, because they're going to be behind City by even more. So, yep, it'll be a fun game to watch. I would definitely recommend to go check out that one, because it's going to be an exciting Merseyside derby. Maybe a little fight will break out or something. Someone will say something crazy. So, all right, let's just hop into my Eastern Conference regular season standings, right? I know a lot of you guys have been requesting this. I'm trying to balance my my viewership of basketball versus soccer fans. I'm a little more of a soccer guy, but the NBA actually really interests me. So let's just hop into it. So number 1 seed, right? This is I just want to make this clear. This is my predicted regular season standings. This has nothing to do with what I think will happen in the playoffs. This is just what I've seen through the roughly 20 games I've played so far. So I just want to make that clear. So first up, we had the Toronto Raptors, right? The Raptors are 19-4. I think they have the best record in the NBA right now. And I think they'll be the number 1 seed just because they were number 1 seed last year, right? And they added Kawhi Leonard and got rid of DeMar DeRozan. So DeMar is obviously a great player. I'm not saying losing him is good, but they've replaced him with someone who's even better than he is. So I think, that there's no reason why they wouldn't be the number 1 seed because of the quality they have. They have one of the deepest benches in the NBA, which I think really makes them special. And defensively, they're a pretty good team too. So I would see the Raptors winning somewhere around 60 to 65 games. That's kind of a lot. Around 60 games, I would say. Next up, we have the Philadelphia 76ers, right? Everyone heard about the big move they made to go out and get Jimmy Butler earlier last month. It was a great move, I think. I love the big three they have assembled there. I feel like those guys are all kind of dogs. I've heard guys say, Chris Broussard, if you guys don't know him, he's an NBA analyst on Fox. I've heard him say, hey, I don't think Jimmy will work with the personalities in Philly because those guys aren't dogs. They don't go get it like he does. I think they do. I really like Embiid and Simmons. I think they have a lot of fight in them. I think they're hard workers, and they do really care about winning games. And I think Jimmy respects that. I love the kind of array of ability they had there. The only thing that's lacking for me is outside shooting a little bit, especially from Simmons since he's the guard. But I love Simmons' height, his passing ability, Butler's defensive ability, ability to knock down important shots, not afraid, fighting, tough. And then you have Embiid working hard in the post, just funny guy. I really like the array of personalities they have there. And I think they're all great defenders. Simmons can guard 1 through 4. Embiid is a beast. You don't want to mess with him in the post. So I love what they have going on in Philly. And then I think if they need to add more shooting to eclipse the Raptors. So I was saying Philly should go out and get Kyle Korver but the Jazz did that already. So they need to go find someone, whether that's J.R. Smith. I don't know if you want to add J.R. to that mix. Him and Jimmy, I don't know about that. That would be interesting to see. But I think that the 76ers will be a solid team, but for me, they're not going to win the East. And we'll go into a little more of that later. So next up, we have the Bucks, right? We have Giannis. The Giannis effect is what I call it, right? He's averaging 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists. Wow, that is pretty. I was saying Giannis, I don't think he's MVP caliber, but you know what? This dude could very well win MVP, and I would have nothing to say about it. And I think the thing about the Bucks is what people don't realize is that they have other scoring options as well. They have Eric Bledsoe, who's a great player. They've got a couple other guys who are just solid, good NBA players. And in this Eastern Conference, which is not as deep as the West, but still very quality, there's someone who can compete. And Giannis's ability, he can kind of carry his teammates. The only thing, obviously, he needs to improve, which it sounds crazy since he's averaging 27 points, is his three-point shooting, just to make him a little more efficient in ways. But I think, yeah, he's a great player, and they'll do well. And just to mention, if you guys didn't know, the Bucks are a top 6 defense in the league. So they're guys who can do stuff on both ends of the floor, which is great to see. Number 4, we have the Boston Celtics. Little note about the Celtics, they're actually my pick, to win the East, which will be, it'll be interesting to see what happens. They're my pick to win the East and to go play the Warriors in the finals. So with the Celtics, we have just like an array of talent that's kind of not seen anywhere else throughout the league. They're so deep. Hayward, Brown, Tatum, Kyrie. I mean, it's just like, it's pretty insane, the kind of Horford, right? Other guys, like, their backup point guard is insane. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. It'll probably come to me in a second. I know who that is, but yeah. But anyways, yeah, they're just a great team. The kind of talent they have, it's just not quite clicking yet. And I think the regular season for them is just trying to find their rhythm and make sure everything clicks. So although they're off to a slow start, they will be a team that's gonna be ready and hungry for the playoffs. So once Horford kind of gets off, once Hayward gets off his minute restriction and they start to kind of find their rhythm, figure out what they're about, which Stevens will definitely do, they'll be lethal, right? They'll be great. And I just want to note that although they aren't doing a great job on the offensive end, defensively they're number 2, so they've got some really good stuff going on already. So they just need to add another half to their game, and they should be good to go. Sorry. And then next up, we have the Indiana Pacers, right? A team that was the 8th seed last year, and they lost Lance, but I still think this year with LeBron out of the East, they'll be doing even better, right? They're a hardworking, physical team, and they're not necessarily the most talented group of players, but they're a team they're all in for it. You could tell last year in the playoffs they really wanted to beat LeBron, and they almost did. I love Oladipo, right? He's got that fighting mentality in him. He can go get buckets. Like, that dude is pretty insane. He always rises to the occasion too, and he's not afraid to get out there and get after it. So, and then they also have really good like complementary players, right? You have Sabonis, right? 15-point scorer. I'm gonna struggle with this. Bogdanovic, he's also like a 15-point scorer. Both are good shooters, and people that can be relied on when they need it. So, I think they have good second options. They have a good leader, and I think they have a good mentality. And they are a top 7 defense as well. So they're another good team that's very good defensively. And when I say top 7, this is not top 7 in the Eastern Conference. This is in the whole NBA. So they are a very good defensive team and a team that just they work very hard. And I think Oladipo could carry them pretty deep into the playoffs. Now at number 6, this is kind of a new name from last year. We got the Pistons, right? So we got Blake and Drummond. That's going to be... But let me just get into it, all right? So I think the Blake and Drummond dynamic, right, is something that no team can really guard, right? No one has the answer for 2 guys, right? You have Blake averaging 25, Drummond averaging 18, both like 7 feet tall. Like, if you're the Celtics, how are you going to guard that, right? What are you going to do? You can't do much because Horford's going to guard one. Who's going to grab the other? Baines? You're going to play Horford and Baines? I don't know. So they had that almost similar dynamic to Anthony Davis and Boogie Cousins last year, where no team could really guard both of those talents because they're so good. I think why the Pistons for me then is a 6 seed is because the kind of talent around them. Going through their roster, I didn't really see anyone who could step up and someone who's good enough to kind of take the pressure out those two. And also, we know this is a 3-point league now, so whatever they do is not going to be quite enough, especially against the better shooting teams like the Celtics, like the Raptors. So, my 7th seed is a risky one. It's kind of interesting. It's the Washington Wizards. So we already know what's going on with them. A lot of turmoil in the locker room. John Wall and the coach having severe disagreements. It's actually stepped up their level of play, which is interesting. But I'm just kind of they're my 7th seed if Wall doesn't get traded, obviously. But they're my 7th seed kind of just based on ability, based on talent, based on what they have on paper, right? They have John Wall, all-star level quality player. Bradley Beal, very good player. Kelly Oubre, very good player. And then Dwight Howard, a former all-star and one of the best, he's one of the better big men in the league. And he can offer something that almost no one else can. The issues with them, I'm going to go through the issues now since they're a lower seed. And they've just had so many problems this year. My issues with the Wizards are just, they're the 23rd ranked defense in the league. So, I mean, what are you going to do with that, right? It's going to be a struggle for them to even get into the playoffs. But when you're in the playoffs with a 23rd ranked defense, there's definitely, when you're that low, there's something about paying attention on the defensive end and really putting that kind of work in. So it seems like a weird culture they have right now. The locker room stuff is just a mess. And then also their outside shooting this year has been horrendous, and with this kind of league, it's not going to work. So we'll see if they can find their stride, and I think if they do, they'll be a 7th seed for me, just of how far they've fallen behind already. And then my 8th seed is the Charlotte Hornets. So when I was going through for an 8th seed, I never thought Charlotte would be an option, right? I was looking through, and I was looking at the list of teams, and the only other team that I really thought could do it was the Magic. And what the Magic didn't have was Kemba Walker, right? They have Aaron Gordon, only averaging 16 points. You can't have you're not going to make the playoffs if your best player can only average 15. Kemba Walker is having an MVP quality season. It is actually insane. Big ups. Love to see the little guys doing work, Man's not so big himself. So Kemba Walker is currently averaging 27 points and 6 assists, right? Kind of reminds me of Isaiah Thomas's season, where he kind of put the team on his back. And I think that's what Kemba's going to do for them, is that he's going to carry the Hornets to the playoffs. They're going to get battered in the first round by the Raptors, no question about it. The kind of quality surrounding Kemba is not good enough. But I think having him is going to be someone, he's going to be able to carry. When you have that kind of score, you saw him the other week go for 50, or was it 50 or 60? I think it was 51 or something like that. And it's just insane. So I think with an all-star quality player like Kemba, they fare much better than other teams that could be potential 8 seeds, because those teams lack an all-star quality player. So, yeah. And then, yeah, so that's the kind of end of the podcast for today, guys. This is just the first one, and I'm sorry, it's going to probably be chopped up a little bit because the camera's been having issues. But I just want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Please hit the subscribe button for my channel. I would really appreciate it. I'm putting a lot of work and time into this. So if you guys could please subscribe, comment, like my posts, that would be really nice. And if you guys could please make sure to follow me on Instagram at Everything Sports 101 blog. I'd really appreciate that. It would mean a lot to me. And also, I'm going to be having guests on the podcast, so make sure to DM me, right? And let me know if you want to hop on. I'm welcome to have almost anyone on the podcast. I was supposed to have a guest on today. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it. So I'm still looking for my first guest. And we can also, although I am a big sports fan, if you guys want to do anything from music to video games, I'm open to do other pop culture type things or interesting stuff. So let me know, and thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next week. Peace.